Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Vegas 27, Cody Garbrandt versus Robbie Font. And Shaq is going down this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada. Two top bantamweights looking to get into title contention. Obviously, the former champ, Cody Garbrandt. He's looking to reclaim gold, and he's taking on Rob Font, who's in the best moment of his career right now. Two bangers. I have a feeling someone might hit the deck.
Yeah, bantamweight is right up there in some of my favorite divisions, up there with the lightweight division. I mean, it's as stacked as the lightweight division if you really look at it. And Garbrandt, he's a former champion, has wins over Dominic Cruz. And, we saw his last fight against Rafael, the viral knockout that was. And then Rob Font, I mean, his last two fights, fight of the night versus Ricky Simon and a first-round finish over Marlon Moraes. Maybe Rob Font's ready for his, title shot. So we'll get to see two heavy hitters. I have a feeling someone's getting knocked out.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, Robbie Font, he started off his win streak with a win over the current Bellator bantamweight champion, Sergio Pettis. So he's been beating the who's who, and he's a guy that's always had the skills ever since day one that he stepped into the octagon. It's just one of those things where the mental needed to catch up. Now I think it is truly catching up, and I think we're going to see Saturday night if he's ready to get a title shot or not.
Yeah, 100%. And can't forget Cody Garbrandt. I mean, at one point, he might be the fastest bantamweight in terms of hand speed. And from the sounds of it, man, it sounds like he's in a good spot mentally. So we're going to see both guys at their best form on Saturday night.
Absolutely. Just got to give a quick shout out to the fans that have to battle. Sorry about the audio issues on my end last week, trying to get that fixed. So thank you guys for sticking with us. And before we do our breakdown, because, we're going to break down this whole card start to finish. But first, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. And guys, Father's Day is just around the corner, and you probably need a gift for a hairy dad. Make your dad proud this year and get him and yourself Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. That's what I got in my hands right here, the brand new 4.0. You heard that right, the Lawnmower 4.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. And you guys already know the deal. Listen, with our ancient fathers, man, they got to get with the times. And in this day and age, it's all about manscaping. It's all about the Lawnmower 4.0. It's all about using that code BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. So make sure y'all do that. And Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and just launched their Lawnmower 4.0, which is what I'm holding in my hands right here. I mean, I was wondering to myself, how could they get better after the 3.0? And they did. They stepped up their game, as always. Imagine surprising your dad with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized body hair trimmer that says, "Your balls will thank you" on the box. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. You might ask, how is this Lawnmower 4.0 different from other trimmers? Well, I'm glad you asked. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on-off switch that can engage a travel lock. This is a great feature if your father or yourself do a lot of traveling. It also gives you the ability to turn on the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. You can now shave your balls in the dark, so power outages are no longer an excuse. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 to 4. The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. You guys know that no matter what we're talking about, lasting longer always counts for something. And you heard it right. Wireless charging ball trimmers are a real thing now. Have you ever seen a nose bush sticking out of your dad's nose? Well, the Weed Whacker and Nosier hair trimmer is the best nose hair trimmer on the market and the perfect gift for your pops. They also have other amazing products like cologne, the Crop Mop ball wipes, the Crop Reviver ball toner, and the Crop Preserver ball deodorant. And for all the females listening, you'll appreciate this part. Manscaped products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, dye-free, and they're even vegan too. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. Get your dad a gift you know they will use. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code BATTLE20. Don't forget that you came from your dad's balls. This year, show your original home some love with Manscaped, Shaq.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. Manscaped has honestly changed the game. I'm a witness myself. I mean, the grooming is just gotten up to a tip top level. So I got no complaints about Manscaped.
I mean, I thought I was on top of my grooming game until I got with Manscaped, and now it's skyrocketing to that next level, like my boy Alexander the Rocket Racket, just shooting straight up. So I'm very excited. Now let's break down this.
Is that really his nickname?
Yeah, the Rocket.
Really his nickname?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Apparently he's got a big vertical jump, but
he doesn't fight like a rocket. I'm just kidding.
He used to until he hit the top 10, but you already know the deal. Now, first up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Damir Ismagulov. He's 22-1. He's taking on Rafael Alves, who's 19-9. Currently, they got Damir Ismagulov minus 550. The comeback on Rafael Alves is plus 425. Well, it's good to have the dark horse in the lightweight division back. That's Damir Ismagulov. For those that don't know, this guy is no joke. His last fight beat Thiago Moises thoroughly. He's just such a smooth striker. He's so well-rounded. I just wish he'd fight more, because then he'd certainly be in the top 10. He's got all the skills. And, I respect his opponent, Rafael Alves, a lot, man. He's a very well-rounded guy. He's got a nasty guillotine, good calf kicks, comes from MMA Masters, black belt in jiu-jitsu. I mean, I can't say enough good things. Definitely deserves to be in the UFC. And I feel really bad for him, man, because he was supposed to take on Pat Sabatini. And personally, I thought he was going to teach Pat Sabatini a lesson, man, but he missed weight by 11 pounds. And shame on MMA Fighting for that disgusting headline they just put out, where the quote on the headline was Rafael Alves missed weight on purpose, but they didn't give any context. And the reason why he missed weight, God bless him and his family. His wife had a miscarriage, which is horrendous, man. So as soon as he heard that, he was like, dude, fuck this shit, man. And he didn't even give a fuck about the fight anymore. Rightfully so. All you should care about is your family. So first of all, fuck MMA Fighting for that disgusting headline. But on Rafael Alves' part, I don't hold it against him for missing weight. You go through some shit like that, it is what it is. The fact that he even showed up to the scales is admirable in my opinion. But here, hopefully he's cleared his mind a little bit. And I think that he can come out here and survive these 3 rounds, but lose a 30-27 decision. I really like that Sabatini fight for Rafael Alves. And I think that Rafael Alves will go on to win some fights in the UFC, no doubt about it. He's just taking on the dark horse of the division, who's kind of too smooth and just proficient everywhere the fight goes. So I see Ismagulov cruising to a nice 30-27 decision here.
Yeah, I'm excited for Ismagulov's return, because he definitely put it on Thiago Moises, and Thiago Moises went on quite the run. He's now officially a top 15 guy. I don't know for how long, considering he's fighting Makhachev next, but but hey, he made it to the top 15. And Ismagulov, I mean, he's a guy, not only Thiago Moises, but the Joel Alvarez fight, who Joel Alvarez has been finishing these dudes a lot. He was supposed to fight Giagos this past weekend, but he got injured. But I think, look, Ismagulov's been off for a while. He's been injured. His timing, his rhythm might be off a little bit. So I wouldn't honestly be shocked if this was, look, we're talking about what's the line, minus 600, minus upper fives, there's no value betting Ismagulov at this side. Alves actually is a better, don't let that record confuse you. I think he's still in the best spot in his career. Yeah, it's unfortunate he didn't get to fight Pat Sabatini. I was looking to bet him in that spot. I thought he was just going to be too much for him. And then you got Ismagulov, like you said, man, he just fights. He doesn't give you much to go off of. We're talking kind of like an Ankalaev. It's hard to really gauge what this guy's going to do. He's just too disciplined, too crisp. And I just see that Alves is probably going to do a lot of swinging and missing, being a lot very frustrated, maybe not pulling the trigger, maybe slowing down in the late rounds. But from a betting perspective, man, you just got to sit back and let Ismagulov just win his decision, because he might try to Russian coast, and we're talking about a minus 600. But look, make no mistake about it, he's going to be my pick to win this fight.
Now, also in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between another Damir Hadzovic. He's 13-6. He's taking on Yancy Medeiros, who's 15-7. Currently, they got Damir Hadzovic minus 130. The comeback on Yancy is plus 110. So both these guys desperately need a win, Shaq. I mean, not only are they coming off losses, but it's not just the fact that they're coming off losses. It's they looked pretty damn horrendous in their losses compared to prior performances, I thought that at one point Yancy Medeiros was really putting it together and could, at least just be, he's already a tough Hawaiian warrior, but I thought he could be just one of these guys that you can always count on for an exciting fight. But those last few, I haven't been seeing that same guy. And I think it's one of these cases where even in his early run, he leaves so many openings that, once you start to get a little older and you don't patch up those fundamentals, then it starts to catch up with you. And when you're a guy that relies on your durability, because Yancy was known, I don't know if y'all saw that fight between Trinaldo and Yancy, but Yancy was known as one of those guys that you could literally hit with a baseball bat and he's going to pop back up and keep fighting. He's a true Hawaiian warrior, but now I don't see that same output. He looks sluggish his last few fights, but then on the other side with Hadzovic, I had high hopes for him too. Not I'm not talking top 15 or anything. I thought at least he could be a top 30 guy, but now it's looking like top 130. You know what I mean, Shaq? Those last two fights, the Christos Giagos fight, there was that built-in excuse that he had his kid that week, but then the very next fight he gets blown out in under a minute. So, I think both guys need a lot of work. I'm slightly leaning with Hadzovic just because I do think that Yancy still leaves all those big openings on the feet. And even though Hadzovic might not be the fastest guy, might not be the most athletic, one thing about him, he's got a decent Euro point fighting style. He keeps his hands nice and high. And unless he's dealing with a big speed deficit, which I don't think is the case here, he can probably outpoint Yancy. It's just that, laying chalk on a guy like Damir Hadzovic at this point in his career is a very sketch proposition. So it might be a dog or pass situation. I just kind of feel like Yancy has looked a little worse lately, so I'll take Damir. But flip a coin. What do you think, Shaq?
Yeah, I got Hadzovic in this fight, man. A little more confidently. Look, both guys are definitely nothing to write home about, but I think Yancy, this is a product of all that damage he took early in his career. Not only the Francisco Trinaldo fight, but don't forget about that Alex Cowboy fight, which he won. But there was a lot of damage sustained, followed up with the Cowboy Cerrone knockout. Even his fights with like McDessie, men were wobbled. Even in his fight, like all of his fights, Poirier. I know you remember that. What was that fight he had back in the day? Who was it? Oh, never. It's all good. But anyways, man, the dude's taking a lot of damage in his career, man. And Jim Miller it was Jim Miller that tapped him out, right? Yeah. And I think, and I just think it's finally caught him. Now, Hadzovic, the issue with him is just the ground game. That's like where that's where most of his issues derive from. Look, Moicano, I didn't expect Hadzovic to win that fight, so I'm honestly not gonna hold it that much. I don't think anybody really expected him to win that fight. As where like Yancy Medeiros, he's in these closely lined matchups with Lando Venata, and Lando Venata dropping to 45 looked good, but at 55, he washed out at 55s, and Lando honestly mopped the floor with him. Gregor Gillespie it just seems like his fights are becoming less and less competitive, and I feel like there's more reason. I think Yancy Medeiros doesn't have that wrestling game to necessarily hit double legs and single legs on Christos Giagos like a Christos Giagos, a strong, powerful wrestler would, or Hanato Moicano, like these type of black belts. I think that this is a good matchup for him. He can stay on the feet, land those left hooks, and honestly just hurt Yancy. I think Yancy nowadays, man, like with Ferguson and some of these other guys, once the ability to take isn't there anymore, their skills just the rest of their skills fall apart as well, man. The wrestling, the striking, just their ability to, now he's a little more hesitant, man. I think Hadzovic honestly knocks Yancy out, man. So I'm going with Damir to keep his job, and then we can look to fade him against, when he fights one of these up and coming, like he was supposed to fight Nicholas Mata. This was Nicholas Mata's fight, so we can fade him when he gets that fight.
And probably at a better price too. So looking forward to it. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Joshua Culibao. He's 8-1-1. He's taking on Yilan, who's 19-6. Currently, they got Josh Culibao -250. The comeback on Yilan is +200. So I'm gonna just keep it short and sweet. Look, Josh Culibao, he's had to grit his teeth in the UFC, man. They ain't giving him no easy fights. They gave him Jalen Turner at 155 pounds on short notice. Then they gave him Charles Jourdain, who had already been in there with Feely and with Desmond and Green. So just way more experienced guys. Listen, man, he got through those fights. Now, here you go. Here's a Chinese prospect, man. And listen, here's the deal. From China, what I've noticed is that the female fighters are fantastic, but the male fighters, except unless your name is Li Jingliang, the male fighters just haven't been up to par. You saw that recently on that Masvidal card, man. You saw Shu Rong, you saw the kid that fought Molina, you saw the chick that even the girl that fought Carnelosi. Like they're I don't know if the training situation there isn't up to par, because I mean they have a performance institute, so I don't really know what the deal is, but I just don't think that Yilan is quite ready for the UFC, and I actually think that Josh Culibao, despite this hefty price on a guy who hasn't won a fight inside the octagon yet, I think that this is a fight he's going to come out here, show off all his hard work. He's been training with Volkanovski. He's been doing the right things. He's paid his dues. Come out here and take care of this guy, man. I mean, look, Yilan, even if he projects to be good, that first flight over to the United States, you know that never goes well, man. And I don't think it's going to go well here. I got Josh Culibao for the win.
Yeah, I think that's what it's more. So I'm interested to see how these Chinese guys like Rong Zhu and the dude that fought Molina, what's his nickname? The
Mongolian Murderer.
Yeah, the murderer. Yeah.
He's got a good fight coming up. Don't say who, but he's got a good fight.
Rong Zhu's fighting Dakota Bush. I just saw that yesterday. So
and the murderer's got a fight in the works too.
Yeah, I forget against who it was. But anyways, man, who is it?
Our boy, but we'll talk about it later.
Oh, but anyways, I think what was the matchup again?
Culibao.
Yeah, Culibao, man. I think Culibao deserves some respect. Jourdain, we know that he's known for turning up in the late rounds. He pretty much does it every fight. Turned up in the late rounds on Philly, Des Green, against that the Argentinian guy he just fought. I forget his name, but that's what Air Jourdain is known for. And then this fight with Jalen Turner, no excuse there. Jalen Turner seems to be on the ups right now. 6'3" lightweight. I think everything is lining up for Josh Culibao to finally get his UFC win. Like you said, some of these Chinese prospects, that flight over from China is no joke. I mean, how long is that flight? And I highly doubt he. I highly doubt he. They're not like my girl Yan Xiaonan who got here like 3 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? They're showing up for fight week just like it's a normal thing. So we'll see how he performs. But I just think Culibao, his last fight, he was a huge underdog, and I mean he fought great. I think there's no shame in his 2 UFC fights so far. I think it's his time to finally get a win. The price is hefty, but I was not impressed with what's his name? How do you say his name?
Yilan.
Xiang. It was just low-level Chinese competition. I mean, he's got some good grappling, I guess. But Culibao, man, he's got a lot of fight in him. I like his heart, so I think he's going to get this one. Hopefully, he can get that Chase Super fight. I know he's been campaigning for it. Who's super fighting again?
I already forgot, but it's an interesting matchup.
Oh man,
I'll tell you in a second. But yeah, it was an interesting fight. I remember. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you right now. He's fighting Steven Peterson, Ocho.
Oh, okay, that's a good fight.
Yeah.
Man.
A punching bag versus a punching bag. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Who did I? Man, yeah. I don't know. Steven might bully him. I don't know. We'll see.
Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Victor Rodriguez. He's 7-3. He's taking on Bruno Bulldog Silva, who's 11-5-2. Currently, they got Bruno Bulldog minus 350. The comeback on Victor Rodriguez is plus 260. So here's the thing with this fight. I know a lot of people see it. Bruno Bulldog minus 350. Holy shit! He only has one win in the UFC. I mean, a lot of us thought he beat that Russian, but he handled JP Buys accordingly. And honestly, even though there might not be too much value in this line, I think he's going to handle Victor Rodriguez accordingly too. Listen, Victor Rodriguez, no disrespect to him. I respect anyone that steps in there, but he comes from that Alaskan fight scene, and unless your name is Uros Medic, who actually moved to the United States and trains at King's MMA now.
Alaska's in the United States.
you know what I'm saying? Like that actually is funny because just like Hawaiians, a lot of Alaskans feel like they're their own country. So It's a similar kind of vibe to Hawaii. Not in terms of the climate. One's beach, the other is fucking snowy, but they feel like they were. It's a whole political thing. But anyways, dude's training out of Alaska. That Alaskan regional scene ain't very, very good. And Victor Rodriguez has been fighting subpar competition, steps into the UFC, gets killed here against Bruno Bulldog. Obviously, you don't want to lay minus 350 on Bruno Bulldog, but I think he's better than this guy, man. I think he's better than him everywhere. I think he's more explosive. He just might be a little smaller. He's going to be a little shorter. It is what it is. Skills will prevail here. I got Bruno Bulldog, but I personally just wouldn't lay the price. I'd stay away.
Yeah, I think Bruno's going to run through this guy in the first round, man. I just think Victor Rodriguez does not belong here at all, man. Like you said, Alaska fight scene. I wouldn't overthink this too much. I think if a dog shot on Victor Rodriguez is a L, man. Dude, you could just tell he's too tense in these exchanges. He's too uncomfortable. Bruno Bulldog is as comfortable as he's ever been. Not to mention, we can take this to the floor as well and submit him. Look at Bruno Bulldog's career. You want to talk about, swimming with the sharks. He fights Tafa on steroids. Tafa tested positive on steroids after that fight. And honestly, he won a round. But, the dude was juiced to his guilt. In Abu Dhabi. There was nothing my boy Bruno could do about that one. He fights with David Dvorak, who's on like a crazy winning streak. And the fight came down to the wire all the way to the end. He rocked David Dvorak with a big front kick. And then his next fight against the Russian, look, I personally think he won that fight straight up, but I understand to beat a teammate of Khabib in Abu Dhabi, it's probably not going to happen, especially by decision. So and then he got his lower level competition, JP Buys, and going into that fight, I said JP Buys has only fought regional competition. Look at JP Buys' career; he ain't fought anybody. And guess who else hasn't fought anybody? Victor Rodriguez. It's worse than JP Buys. Victor Rodriguez is about to get ran through it. And back to the Alaska FC here after Saturday night. I got Bruno Bulldog by first round knockout or submission.
Yeah, listen, if Victor wants to come to the NFC and test some of our up-and-comers, we'd love to have him.
A lot of the Alaskans are making their way down here. So, Victor, by all means, after this fight...
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I think that he's buddies with that Tyson Duckworth guy who's been getting his ass whipped by our boys. So, yeah, if any more Alaskan guys, I know y'all can't get fights over there. You want to come to NFC and test out your skills? Hit us up because, after this fight, Victor Rodriguez versus Jamar Whitehead sounds like a good fight to me. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Claudio Silva. He's 14-2. He's taking on the Ultimate Fighter winner, Court McGee, who's 19-10. Currently, they got it depends where you look. Some places it's a dead pick'em, but you look at a spot like Bet Online, and they got it minus 123. Court McGee, the comeback on Claudio Silva is plus 103. So I do see some dog money on Claudio Silva. Listen, Court McGee's got a great reputation. Back in the day, he beat Robert Whittaker. He won the Ultimate Fighter. He's a very tough guy. He's overcome some shit in his personal life. Him and Matt Brown share something in common. They both died and came back to life and went on to have great careers in the UFC. So I got nothing but respect for Court McGee. Now, it's interesting because I know we're going to talk about Court McGee possibly being a guy on his way out. Did you know, Shaq, that Claudio Silva is actually 2 years older than him in terms of age?
Yeah, I know he's like 37, 8, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Claudio's getting up there. But anyways, man, how do you see this going? You got the volume boxing, quote unquote, of Court McGee. You got the toughness and the wrestling, and then you got the world-class jiu-jitsu of Claudio Silva. What do you think?
Yeah, look, this is going to be an ugly fight because Court's ugly and Claudio, he's got an ugly style as well. Claudio's very stubborn. He's going to come in with the left kick, the left straight. Court McGee definitely throws more, and he might have better cardio. The thing that I just see the difference is the ability to push. Look, at 38 years old, is that for Claudio Silva, is that to rely on? Sure, maybe at minus money, but at dog money, I think honestly it could be a good proposition, man. Court McGee is very basic. Not saying that Claudio isn't basic either, but I just feel like Claudio has a little more. What's the word I'm looking for? He's a little more vicious. He takes more chances. He he'll move forward. That James Krause fight, yeah. Look, he got exposed. I mean Krause, but Corey McGee's not James Krause, man. Corey McGee is a very stationary, simple guy looking to press. And it's tough with Corey because he is fighting some of these guys like, younger guys like Diego Lima, Sean Brady, and he's not getting finished. I mean, look, the durability is definitely still there. Carlos Condit dropped him, but could not finish him. The toughness. So, look, this might be a 3-round fight. And has Corey McGee ever been submitted?
Never.
Exactly. So, look, at first I was thinking maybe this could be, an easy win for Claudio. But, look, there were some things that definitely Claudio comes in with the same basic combos. I mean, he's very, very open to counters. I just think that he's tougher, and I think he's going to take more chances. Very more opportunistic, as where Court's just looking, outwork a decision. Nothing wrong with that game plan at all. It's definitely worked out for him in the past, but just not lately. But this is a matchup on his, both guys around the same age. I mean, but I think Claudio is just going to, land a hard left kick to the body or a straight left that hurts Court. And I don't know if he gets the rear naked choke. Court's never been submitted. He strikes me as a guy that's probably going to be very tough to get to tap. I mean, Court's, like you said, he's died before. He's not gonna just go away, man. But I think Claudio honestly just pushes harder. I mean, that James Krause fight, I honestly thought some other guys in that spot would have folded up a lot sooner. But I mean, he just keeps coming forward. You could crack him with their best shots. And I mean, I've seen guys like Hot Chocolate and Brad Scott have this dude on the near brink, and he's still not quit. But at the same time, they did have him in bad position. So I understand why the line's close, but personally, I'm going to go with Claudio Silva to get the win just by being more aggressive and taking more chances.
Look, Court McGee's style hasn't evolved one bit. I mean, he's 3-7 in his last 10 fights. He's starting to get dropped now in fights, not just the Condit fight, even the Brady fight. And someone might excuse that by saying, oh, Brady's this top prospect. Yeah, when's Brady been known for dropping anything? Brady's a grinder. Brady's a submission artist. Brady ain't out here dropping people with punches except Court McGee. And it's one of these things where I don't see, Ben
Saunders too.
He lost to Ben Saunders. What else should I say? It's just one of these situations where I understand Claudio's getting up there in age, but I don't think the mileage is quite up there where, Courts is. Courts actually taking a lot of damage in these fights. These fights are getting harder to watch. I personally think Claudio's going to take him down one time and the fight's going to be over shortly after. But if it becomes a 3-round war, I also take Claudio there as well. But I'm going to say first-round submission for Claudio Silva. I do think he will be the first man in MMA history to submit Court McGee. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Big Ben Rothwell. He's 38-13. He's taking on Chris Barnett, who's 21-6. Currently, they got Ben Rothwell minus 350. Come back on Chris Barnett's plus 280. So, listen, man, shout out to my boy Terrence Hodges, who actually knocked out Chris Barnett. Terrence Hodges, know him from X3, the gym, and also have called some of his fights in the NFC. A really nice guy. He knocked out Chris Barnett, by the way. And listen, Barnett, he's a fun character. He's like a big fat dude, except he's athletic and can break dance, and he can throw some spinning kicks and, all this and that. And listen, Ben Rothwell is probably at the worst point in his career right now. I mean, he needs his Flintstone vitamins badly. He is slow as molasses. I think that this is a fight Ben Rothwell can win, man. It's just that trusting Rothwell at that price, you can't do it. These are heavyweights. Rothwell has not looked good in a long time, like long ass fucking time. So you can't lay the price. It's a dog or pass situation, but I've seen lesser men knock out Chris Barnett, so I'm gonna go with Ben Rothwell here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rothwell's definitely gonna be the pick here, and you could say, oh, he fought Tybura, he fought who was the other guy that beat him?
Andre?
Ivanov, Andre Arlovsky, and all these guys. But think about that fight with Stefan Struve and OSP. He had a light heavyweight, a washed up light heavyweight in that. And I mean, the fight was, a split decision. And then we go to the his fight with Stefan Struve. I mean, did you think that was a good performance? I mean, that fight was like, I mean, Stefan Struve is retired. Yeah, look, I think he's gonna win this fight, but I agree, man. I can't lay that price on a guy like Ben Rothwell at this stage in his career, but especially without the I forget exactly what he tested positive for, but he needs that because I mean, whenever he's on that stuff, man, he'll tap out Josh Barnett, he'll finish Mitrione and knock out Brandon Vera, so Brendan Schaub in Atlanta. So honestly, man, I think
Overeem.
I wouldn't be mad if Rothwell lost this fight because I want to see him get in Bellator, get the roids back in you, and then let's bring out the old heavyweights in Bellator. We got Fedor still in the mix. We got who's the heavyweight champion? And let's get they just signed JDS, right? Yeah, Bader. Like, man, let's get Ben in there. Let's get him back on the juice. Tim Johnson's doing his thing over there. Congo's still in the mix. So, I see. I wouldn't be mad if Chris Barnett won this fight, but he's just not very impressive to me. But I just think Rothwell's got too much UFC experience.
Shaq Congo versus Ben Rothwell would be a very appealing fight to watch, wouldn't it, Shaq?
Especially on steroids, like hell yeah, man. Why not?
Next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Bill Algeo. He's 14-5. He's taking on Ricardo Ramos, who's 14-3. Currently, they got Bill Algeo -120. The comeback on Ricardo Ramos is +100. That's exactly where the fight opened. -120 Algeo, just a slight lean on him. I mean, which way are you leaning, man? Because I mean, Ramos is a talented kid. We've known this for a very long time. Algeo is starting to come into his own into the UFC. I like the point they're meeting at, and it's at featherweight as well. What do you think?
It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight for me. One of the closer fights on the card, just due to the fact that it's a tough dilemma of we know who might be tougher, but that same tough guy kind of puts himself in a lot of bad positions. He's also a black belt. I'm not sure if Ramos is even a black. He probably is a black belt by now, but Bill Algeo's a black belt, and I mean, look, he's comfortable in these bad positions. I got a lot of respect for Bill Algeo since that Brendan Loughnane fight. Brendan Loughnane, definitely put it on him, beat him soundly every single round. I was impressed with the toughness. He fought Burgos, he fought Jared Gordon, lost to all respectable guys on the local scene. His fight with Ricardo Lamas going into the fight, I was watching Bill Algeo's fight saying, like, man, I think Lamas might have a tough fight on his hands. And I mean, he got fight of the night. I mean, he gave Lamas everything he could. And Lamas is one of the better 45-fighters to ever do it. Then he whoops up on Spike Carlisle. I mean, a lot more easier than Billy Quarantillo did for sure. And I like Bill Algeo. I know he's the tougher guy. It's just that he puts himself in bad spots sometimes. Like in that Spike fight, he kind of let Spike take the back a little bit too much for me to definitively say that Ramos can capitalize on something like that, man. Ramos's issue is, man, the talent's there, the speed, the power, I mean, the physique. It's just all mental and in here, man. Like the Leron Murphy fight, look, I understand Leron Murphy is a strong dude and he's undefeated, but I still feel like Ramos has more experience than him. I'm not saying that he's for sure the better fighter between the two, but just the way that fight turned out is a letdown in my opinion. And some of his other performance down the stretches, down the stretch in tough fights, like the Mr. Perfect against Kyung Ho Kang, he kind of folded in that third round. The Tanaka fight, he kind of folded in that third round. His fight with Journey Newsom, I thought he could have done a little bit better. Look, I think that he's got enough talent for me to not lay chalk against him. But I mean, look, the proof is in the pudding. If he quits again, I mean, all the evidence is there to say. But man, he's such a young kid. Like, it kind of reminds me of, I'm not trying to compare him to Charles, saying that he's going to be a champion, but look at all the times that Charles, man, like sometimes he's young. They come in the UFC. Look at the hype Ramos has had, from a very early age, kind of like Thiago Moises at a young age. A lot of hype and a lot of just, quit jobs in the younger stages of their careers. But who knows if he can figure it out, man. Because I honestly do believe he's the more talented fighter, the more physical fighter. It's just that Algeo's a tough customer. He's not gonna stop coming forward. He'll eat your shot and keep coming forward. But I'm gonna actually take Ramos by split, like a close decision. I think he's gonna finally man up and do it, man. We'll see. But it's gonna be a tough fight. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a close fight and then Algeo broke him in the late rounds. I mean, Algeo, I got a lot of respect for his toughness. So, but I don't see any value like either side betting wise.
So you're saying that Ricardo Ramos has a win over Mr. Perfect, Kyung Ho Kang, because now he's fighting Senor Perfecto, which also translates to Mr. Perfect. So you already beat one Mr. Perfect. Let's see if he can beat another one. But listen, man, I like Algeo's volume a lot. He's one of these guys that paid his dues on the regional scene, just like you talked about. I mean, he was going to decision with Jared Gordon on the regional scene. You know, he fought Lofnane on Contenders. So he's fought the right guys outside the UFC, paid his dues, and now I think he's ready to shine. And the thing with Ramos, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the Oliveira comparison, because I agree. There's times when you see these little flashes of brilliance in Ramos's game, and this has been going on for a long time. Because actually, if you recall, prior to his UFC run, so you remember Dana White's show Looking for a Fight. So Dana was in the front row at this Legacy fight. At the Legacy fight. Before it was called LFA, it was called Legacy. And Dana was front row to see Ricardo Ramos fight Manny Vasquez, and he ends up getting choked out in the first round. But Dana was still like, you know what? I mean, the kid was only like 19, 20, 21 at the time. You gave him another chance. Watches him again on Looking for a Fight against Alfred Kashakian, you know, the guy that O'Malley knocked down in Contenders, the guy that Sergio Pettis ran through his Bellator debut. And, you know, obviously Ricardo finished him, gets into the UFC, goes on a good little run, had a couple setbacks here and there. I mean, the trend's been the same in all his losses. You know, you stand up to this guy, you make it kind of tough, or if you just swarm him out the gate, those are the ways to beat him. But you know, if we start getting into spots where Ricardo starts taking his back, I feel like he can hold his back for an entire round, if not submit him. But, you know, Algeo's a black belt, but I'm just saying he gives up position a lot. He does get hit a lot. So there's things I'm worried about. But I do agree with you on the toughness front. I definitely think Algeo's the tougher guy, especially right now. But with Ramos, one day I believe that the mental is going to catch up with the physical. And when that happens, watch out. Is it now? I don't know. I mean, he is 25 years old. Maybe now. It took Oliveira until he was like 30 for him to do it. I know they're different people. So I don't really know. I'm going to lean Algeo because of the volume and the output, but I agree with you that, you know, we shouldn't be writing off a guy like Ramos and the kind of improvements he can make. And speaking of the kind of improvements someone can make, let's talk about this next fight with Edmen Shahbazyan in the middleweight division. Edmen's 11-1. He's taking on Jack the Joker Hermansson, who's 21-6. Currently, they got Jack Hermansson minus 175. The comeback on Edmen Shahbazyan is plus 135. So Edmen's another one of these cases where I wouldn't write him off quite yet. I mean, you got to understand, he's just a kid. Let me look exactly how old he is. I believe 23 off the top of my head, but let me confirm. 23, correct? Okay, so he's one of these guys that I know people are saying he ain't the toughest. I'm not entirely sure if that's true. And the reason why I say that is because he's one of these phenoms where, like, literally everything's been so easy for him. Like, he'll just throw a strike, guys will go down. I mean, he's just running through people. He's getting the guys like Brad Tavares like it's nothing. And then the second he saw adversity, obviously things didn't go his way, but I think it might have been more of a case where he's just never been put in those spots before. Now he has. So now is going to be the test of if he can overcome adversity, because now he's been put in these bad spots. I mean, the two times he went past the first round against Stewart and against Brunson, obviously shit got sketchy. But I'm curious to see if going forward there's something he can do about fixing it, because I don't just think that he's a first round or bust kind of guy. I think that, you know, he made a couple young mistakes, got a little overexcited in some fights, and, you know, it cost him. But I've seen a well-rounded skill set. Obviously, you know, the knockout power with his hands, with his kicks, his takedown abilities there too. I mean, you saw the Darren Stewart fight, despite that third round getting sketchy. I mean, he landed like a bunch of fucking takedowns on Darren Stewart, man. So he can do it all, really. And with Jack Hermansson, it's funny, if you want to call, you know, Edmen first round or bust, I think Jack has a little bit of that similar quality too, man. I understand he won a 5-round decision against a washed up Jacare, but for the most part, Jack Hermansson's best wins have come inside the first round. And, I think it's going to be kind of hard to take down a guy like Edmen Shahbazyan. And I do think that the thing we've always criticized about Jack is, his striking defense ain't exactly the best. He kind of has a bit of a herky-jerky style. And I think when he was on the come-up and he was kind of the dark horse in the middleweight division, like, not only was he fighting guys that, he could style on like Dave Branch and Jacare, but I also think that now people are starting to figure out his style a bit, because at the time, no one had ever seen, footwork like that. And we weren't really sure if he was a Euro striker or if he's a submission grappler. He's got that nasty guillotine. But now I think people are starting to figure out his style a little bit. And I actually think that Edmen's going to come out here and knock Jack out in the first round. I think Jack took too much damage that last fight. Not necessarily to come back again. He should definitely come back again, but I think he's coming back a little bit too soon. That last one, he broke his orbital. He got knocked down. He got fucked up for 5 straight rounds. Look, do I agree with Jack being slightly favored? Yeah, you can make that argument 100%, but I would say this is a dog or pass situation. Now I'm going to take the dog. I'm going to take Edmen to bounce back in style. He's had 9 months off. You give a 23-year-old 9 months off to work on improvements, and I think he's going to come out here looking like a new man. I think he's going to knock out Jack in the first round. I'm going to go Edmen for the upset.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Shahbazyan's good, man. Good striker, good power, definitely a knockout. But, as of right now, the first round or bust, I mean, that, we'll see, because right now it stands true. His fight with Darren Stewart, definitely. He was looking at Darren Stewart's not even a top 50 guy in my opinion. Look, this is a good fight. Look, I agree that Hermansson should be favored, and I'm not as high on Hermansson as I once was. I think Hermansson's almost borderline one-trick pony. I mean, he's going to come out with the takedowns and try to get the sub or a leg lock. And we all know Jack doesn't like getting hit. His last fight against Vettori got his eye socket fucked up, if I'm not mistaken, in the first round. So we'll see how he bounces back from that. So I think Jack Hermansson is in kind of a similar spot than Shahbazyan. My issue with Shahbazyan is the wrestling. I think that his early career has been so easy. And honestly, the opponents were not up to par. I mean, we're talking about Charles Byrd, not in the UFC. Darren Stewart, a losing record in the UFC, right? Or 500 at best. Brad Tavares, definitely a spectacular win to beat Tavares at that age. But look, timing is a lot in the sport. And Brad Tavares was coming off a serious layoff, a smorgasbord of injuries against from the Adesanya fight. I mean, it was good timing. And then the Brunson fight, we basically what happened was just anytime the wrestling exchanges, he would be extremely tired. But the thing is, Brunson's got power on the feet to threaten him as well, and Jack doesn't have that. So look, I think Jack Hermansson could tire him out in the wrestling, and some of those wrestling exchanges, grappling, jiu-jitsu exchanges with Vettori. Am I a little concerned that they're a little too complex for Shahbazyan? Maybe he's just, he's still 23-4, still 23-4. I know he lost to Brunson, a serious vet, but he's fighting another Cage Warriors champ, a guy that's, even though these guys are washed up, I mean, he beat him. Another top guy who's, I mean, look, I think Jack's a one-trick pony, but experience is a lot in this game. And I mean, you could give him a lot of credit for even surviving that Marvin Vettori fight, because I mean, Marvin Vettori is one of the bigger, strongest, more consistent athletes in that middleweight division. And I mean, after that first round, the way he went down, I thought he was gonna shut up and like a ball like he has in the past. But he had some fight. He had some fight, and I'm concerned about Hermansson that he's been figured out. I think it's a dog or pass situation as well. I don't know how live he is, but I am concerned about the grappling aspect in this fight. Can he maintain his punch power? Can he maintain his punch speed, in the late rounds? Because in that fight with Brunson and Darren Stewart, I mean, he couldn't. And that's just the truth about it. And a lot of his wins, I'm not saying they're circumstantial, but besides Brad Tavares, none of those guys are anything to write home about. I can name 10 other guys that would finish those guys as well. I mean, Eric Anders you saw it with Darren Stewart, and I mean, Darren Stewart lost to Bartosz Fabinski. Like, this is what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Edmen as well. I think it should be, Jack should be the favorite, but we'll see. We'll see. I think it could go either way. I wouldn't be shocked if Jack dominated him either. So we'll see what happens.
Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a prospect showdown between the Czech Republic's David Dvorak. He's 19-3. He's taking on Brazil's Raulian Paiva, who's 20-3. Currently, they got David Dvorak -160. The comeback on Raulian Paiva is +130. Man, two very promising prospects, young, hungry lions in the flyweight division. I know both these guys want to work their way up to a title shot, and someone's going to have to take a setback here Saturday night, Shaq. So how you see this fight playing out?
I mean, I love the flyweight division. I've always been a fan of Raulian Paiva, definitely a serious young warrior from Brazil. I mean, he's a banger. He's going to come forward and throw. His last fight wasn't the most impressive. I mean, he had some circumstances going against him. Was down in Abu Dhabi by himself, getting cornered by, people that he doesn't even train with like that. And he still got the win over Zalgas. But I think Raulian Paiva really hasn't necessarily shown his best. I think the kid's definitely capable of more. I just think he needs more time. And Dvorak, I mean, look, Dvorak is solid. Definitely a lot better than I thought coming in. But man, I got a lot of respect for that Euro scene. Those Euro fighters, I mean, I'll tell you what, they come very prepared, man. And I mean, Dvorak is a chess player. Dude, you can tell the dude is very smart. The only issue I have with Dvorak is his chin. I think he's chinny. There was a moment in the Espinosa fight where he got wobbled, but other than that, I mean, he dominated. There was a moment in the Bruno Silva fight, he got rocked with a front kick. But I mean, dude has a very consistent, sharp style, good counters. The only issue, I mean, he kind of leads in with his head and he'll get rocked from time to time. And Paiva is a serious banger. And we haven't seen Paiva in a long time, but who knows? It's one of those things where it's like laying that much against a guy like Paiva, man. That's gonna be a sweat because Paiva will come after you. I do think some of the value might have gone away. As much as I like Raulian Paiva, look, there is some things to capitalize on. Sometimes he gets a little lackadaisical in there. He makes a little bit of sloppy mistakes. In that not only in that Zalgas fight, but even some moments in the De La Rosa fight, I felt like there were some shots he got caught with that he shouldn't have. But look, on the given day, man, he could be the favorite in this fight. Look, Dvorak, I respect him enough. I just have a lot of respect for that Euro scene, especially the Czechs. Look at what the Muradov and Prochazka are doing right now, man. They're over here undefeated in the UFC. And I mean, Dvorak has, it's like, do I have enough reason to fade him? I mean, Bruno, I have a lot of respect for Bruno Bulldog Silva because, like, when I really look back at the shit that this dude's been in the UFC, I mean, Taha on steroids, I already mentioned it earlier. Like, Bruno Bulldog, I think, is going to find himself back to 500 and maybe, become a staple Brazilian in the UFC, man. I truly believe that, man. So, I think it's a good fight. I'm going to pick Raulian. I'm a little more biased just because I'm a big fan, but I wouldn't be shocked if Dvorak, taught him a lesson and, really I just think Dvorak might be better positionally. In terms of chin, I think Paiva's got the better chin, is more durable. But positionally, execution-wise, focus-wise, I think Dvorak has an advantage. I wouldn't be shocked if he won, but betting perspective, man, it's a pass fight for me.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic fight. Obviously, Dvorak, he's been proving himself, man. I felt like he had a significantly better performance against Espinosa, and in the debut against Bruno Bulldog, overcame adversity. He's just a solid guy, man. The calf kick game is really on point. His top pressure, I don't really have anything bad to say about David Dvorak. With Raulian Paiva, I think the reason I've been so impressed by him is because right now he's actually at that point where you remember a prime James Vick where you could like hit him with anything and the dude will come forward and just has that volume and that will to win. And that's kind of what Paiva reminds me of right now in his career. I think he can take those big shots. And I also think he's a smart guy. I think that he's an alpha male in California. Like, that's the shit I like to see, man. Like, that's what I want Marina Rodriguez to do. That's what my girl Yan Xiaonan did. Like, when these foreign
camp at Alpha Male?
Yeah, he did this camp at Alpha Male. Like, when these foreign fighters like make the decision, like, hey, like, let's get out our comfort zone, go to the USA. Like, I love it. You know what I mean? So I'm very happy to see that Raulian, is training with Cody Garbrandt, with Uriah Faber, with all the studs over there. And, that's only going to improve his game this much more. His wrestling defense might not be the best, but his jiu-jitsu and his scrambling is very on point. He can bang too. He can take a shot. I am kind of worried, he's a tall guy, skinny legs, maybe he gets chopped down a little bit, but this ain't Jordan Espinosa, man. Who has proven that, I thought Espinosa was a talented guy. He just couldn't put it together in the UFC. Whereas I think that Raulian can and will and has, man. I mean, he made his UFC debut against Kai Kara-France in New Zealand. He was a plus 220 dog, and it was a split decision that could have gone either way. His next fight, he takes on Bontorin. They're having a hell of a fight, and it was an unfortunate cut stoppage. So both his losses, look, I know if you had a ticket on him, officially it's an L, but if we're not just looking at results and we're actually looking at what happened, I mean, he's been competitive in all four of his UFC fights, and obviously knocked out Mark De La Rosa, which a lot of people couldn't do. A lot of people beat Mark De La Rosa, but not too many people were out there knocking him out. I know Alex Perez didn't knock him out. And then the next fight was Zalgas. Like, there were circumstances, man. I mean, firstly, the flight to Abu Dhabi, that's enough of a circumstances. But how about the flight to Abu Dhabi without all your cornermen? You're a big flyweight. You have to cut all this weight. So now we get Jessica Andrade and Elizu Zaleski's people to corner us. And it's like, yeah, they speak Portuguese, so, at least he could understand. But these aren't his teammates. These aren't his coaches. He doesn't know these people. So, yeah, I think that, and I actually thought he looked amazing like the first 7 minutes. I don't know what happened. There was some kind of body shot that Zalgas landed that kind of slowed Paiva down or something, but I felt like the first 7 minutes of that fight, Paiva was looking fucking on point. And he tore his ACL, and he's coming back in record-breaking time, man. I feel like he's one of these super durable guys, and one of these guys I'm gonna bring up Tony Ferguson, but for a different reason. You know how Tony Ferguson's last two fights, you saw Charles Oliveira get that deep armbar, and then you saw Benny get that deep heel hook and not tap. And I recommend tapping in those situations, obviously, but I think Paiva's one of those flexible as shit guys that you can do stuff like that too. He ain't gonna tap. I think he's one of those guys, man. And it's gonna be a close, sweaty, competitive fight, but I'm gonna go with Paiva to edge it out, man. I think it's a dog or pass situation. And I'm rolling with my favorite flyweight prospect, Raulian Paiva. But all respect to David Dvorak. I think he'll be back, and I think he'll be back better, 100%. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Felicia Spencer. She's 8-2. She's taking on Norma Dumont, who's 5-1. Currently, they got Felicia Spencer minus 192. The comeback on Norma Dumont's plus 167. So I don't really have, too much to work with on the Norma Dumont side, but I like what I've seen. You know what I mean? She's physical. She hits hard. I have some questions about the ground game, not because I've seen bad things, but just because I don't know. Is she a black belt? Is she a brown belt? Because one thing I do know is Felicia Spencer is a black belt, and Felicia Spencer, if she takes Norma Dumont's back, yeah, I'm gonna be pretty fucking worried about that. Aside from that, though, man, I feel like Felicia Spencer, she's tough as hell. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like she's kind of a punching bag, and I feel like she's only got one way to win fights. And that one way is great. Hey, like I said, she takes Norma Dumont's back, there's a good chance she wraps this one up. But to lay minus 190 or whatever the price is on a one-trick pony, and we're not even sure that Norma's got a weakness in that department, and the one-trick pony, we're not dealing with an Andre Muniz where it's guaranteed that he gets on top of you or gets you in any bad spot, it's going to be a wrap. Or Claudio Silva, he takes your back, it's pretty much guaranteed it's a wrap. I'm sketched out by Spencer at this price, so I'm actually going to go with Dumont here. Piece her up, keep it standing, and I think she should win if she can do that.
Yeah, man. Felicia Spencer, I gotta let her respect for her. I mean, I faded her against Cyborg. Not that it was a sweat, but I thought she'd go down first round for sure. And then the Nunes fight, thought she'd go down for sure there too. So. I mean, she can definitely take punishment, but yeah, man, I've never been impressed with her striking for sure. I mean, striking wise, it's borderline Cindy Dandwell level. I mean, it's her head movement is just atrocious. If Norma can keep this upright, I I mean, what I saw from her last fight, she's like she did Sanda. I mean, she's got big power. She's a slugger. She's got some kicks. I think she's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Not black, but brown. But in Brazil, that might be a real legit brown belt. So yeah, man, I think the value is all on Norma in this spot. I know she did have the botch weight cut not too long, but I don't think she needs to be fighting at that weight class, man. She's a little too thick for that with 2 C's, and I just think that she needs to fight in her normal weight class, 145 pounds, and be healthy for these fights. Because Felicia Spencer, I think the reason why this line's been a little bit so inflated is just due to the fact that she's been in there with Cyborg and Amanda Nunes. Granted, she lost 0 for 8 on the rounds there, but she was in there with them. She's people know her. I don't think even half the people really in the betting market know who Norma Dumont is. So that's why
we know who Norma is.
we know who Norma is. But I think, matter of fact, Norma's actually been in Las Vegas for this camp. She didn't go back to Brazil. She did this camp with John Wood and them and Joanne Calderwood. So, I think Norma's going to come in here and have a little surprise for Felicia, man. She was even hitting takedowns on Evan Smith, who is a college wrestler. So, I was impressed by Norma. I was honestly thinking she was gonna knock out the chick she was scheduled to fight.
Zara Fern, maybe?
No, Blanchfield.
Blanchfield. Yeah, Blanchfield's too small for her.
Yeah, I was thinking Norma was gonna knock her out, dude. Honestly, so I like Norma Dumont, man.
I do as well. We're big fans of Norma Dumont. We'd love to sponsor her. Now, featured bout in the heavyweight division, we got Justin Tafa, who's 4-2. He's taking on Jared Vanderaa, who's 11-5. Currently, they got Justin Tafa -175. The comeback on Jared Vanderaa is +155. So a lot of people love fading Justin Tafa for whatever reason. I mean, I get why. He came into the UFC only 3-0. I even bet on Yorgan De Castro against him. But I've picked him every fight since. I mean, I didn't pick him against Felipe, but I definitely, I picked him against that complete and total fraud, Juan Adams, which people were laying like -200 something chalk on Juan Adams in a UFC fight. But anyways,
he was the favorite over Greg too, and my boy Arjan Bueller, which I both bet on.
bet on. Thank you, Greg and Arjan, for that easy dog money. But listen.
You saw my boy Arjan win that 1 FC belt, by the way.
Yeah, hey, he's proven people wrong. You know what I'm saying, Shaq? But yeah. So listen, I think Justin Tafa, it's one of these cases where he got into the UFC super young. I mean, he was 3-0 as a pro, and I think that even though he's only had 6 pro fights, I don't think we can judge him as some random guy with 6 pro fights. I think that certain fights he's going to come out there and win. And I thought he had a competitive fight with Carlos Felipe, despite who you score it for. I mean, the line going into that fight was like -250 Carlos Felipe, and Justin Tafa gave him an honest knock, man. They had a real good fight, and I think that Tafa is progressing. I feel like the finished version of Tafa is going to look a little bit like Mark Hunt. He's got that Samoan kickboxing style, man. He's got that sneaky uppercut, that sneaky uppercut, that leaping left hook, those big leg kicks. I think his takedown defense is improving, and with Vanderaa, I can't say I've ever truly been impressed, man. I mean, he's a tough guy. He'll take your best shots. He'll keep walking forward, but like being a walking punching bag against Tafa just doesn't seem like a good game plan to me. And I know people are talking about this alleged wrestling that Jared Vanderaa has. I mean, like let's relax on that. I'm assuming he's going to try to get this to the mat, no doubt about it. But I don't think that this is some All-American or some credentialed wrestler. I don't think it's anything like that at all. I think Justin Tafa is going to knock him out in the first round. So I'm going Tafa here.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight, man. Because look, I'm not high on Vanderaa at all. Never been. I wanted to bet Spivak against him. And he lost to the guy that knocked Verdum out after getting tapped out. What's his name?
Henan Ferreira.
Yeah, Henan Ferreira. Vanderaa fought that guy and lost, got dominated pretty for the most part. But man, this is a tough fight because I respect where Tafa's come. in this short time, 3-0, and he fought DeCastro, pulled several rookie mistakes in that fight. Then the Juan Adams fight, great performance there, and definitely did his thing against Carlos Boy Felipe. But man, this is a different matchup in my opinion, just due to the fact that Vanderaa, I feel like he's probably going to show up a little better. Not saying that his job's on the line, but I mean, the way that first fight went with against Sergey Spivak, but I truly feel like Spivak is one of the top up-and-comers in that heavyweight division. I still think Tafa, this is just a different matchup in the fact that one thing about Vanderaa is he's a big goof, man. I mean, when I say a big goof, like, dude's huge, 265, like, big dude, like dude's got a hard head too. I mean, I've seen these dudes crack him, and I mean, he just eats it no problem. And he's not a wrestler, but he's a jiu-jitsu guy. But it's just plain and simple, he's better at jiu-jitsu than Justin Tafa. I mean, that's just the facts about it. And Justin Tafa, as much as that was a great fight, I expect there to be more clinch in this fight, more dirty boxing. Man, at that price, I don't like it. I don't like that, because I have to bring up the 6 fights, but he does have more experience than Vanderaa. But Vanderaa can have some tools if he just clinches more. I think if he comes in with a clinch game plan, I think he's got a lot of size on Tafa. I think he can frustrate a younger guy, as where I feel like the Boy Felipe fight. Boy Felipe is a heavy slugger, a boxer who's looking at, they just stood in the middle and said, come on, man, let's go back and forth and let's try to knock each other out, as where I think this fight is going to be a little more tactical. Not saying that Jared Vanderaa is some tactical guy, because, I mean, just listen to him talk. It might be a lot of space up in that head, but I think that he's big, man. Dude's huge, and I think he's got a lot of size on Tafa. I'm not sure exactly how much Tafa weighs. I'm guessing like in the 240s, maybe 250s, as where Vanderaa is like, full 265 and a big tall boy. So I'm a pick Tafa, but from a betting perspective, I don't think you can lay that price on him just yet. I know that was a great fight, his last fight, but this isn't going to be a boxing match in the center of the ring. This is going to be more of a clinch. He is going to probably look to test that grappling a little bit. And I just don't know if we have enough evidence yet at that price to say Tafa, can deal with some of these situations on the ground. But make no mistake about it. I mean, Jared Vanderaa is out here fighting Harry the horny guy, Harry Hornsuckle or Hornbuckle or some. I mean, that guy, Hunsucker. I mean, that dude is complete. That dude was complete trash. But
I'd love to know the lineage of that name.
Hornsucker. What's his? Say it again.
Hunsucker.
Hunsucker. Okay.
And real quick. Tafa weighs 265.
Oh, he weighs 265? Really?
Yeah, he cuts to make heavyweight.
Damn, so I'll take that back then, because it seemed like Boy Felipe was just a little stronger than him. But I think, because I know Boy Felipe is 265, right?
Yeah.
But but yeah, I'll go with Tafa. But from a betting perspective, I don't know. I don't like the number.
I feel you. Co-main event of the evening in the strawweight division, we got a title eliminator between Yan Xiaonan. She's 13-1. She's taking on the former champion and the former Ultimate Fighter winner, Carla Esparza, who is 17-6. Currently, they got Yan Xiaonan minus 125, and the comeback on Carla Esparza is plus 105. I mean, everybody knows we've been high on Yan since day one. And look at our prospect make it all the way to a title eliminator against arguably the toughest stylistic matchup she's ever faced, against a former champion, against a person who finished Rose Namajunas. I mean, I got nothing but good things to say about Carla Esparza. So now I got to know, man, is our top prospect about to make it to the title shot here by defeating the former champion?
Yeah, I mean, Carla Esparza, she's that girl that gives out them first losses, man. I mean, that's what she does. But man, Yan Xiaonan, her last performance, man, that was something else. I mean, the way she dealt with that, I honestly thought she executed that game plan, like, honestly, to a T. We knew that in the first round would be, tough. Gadelia is a big, strong girl, black belt, no Vu Niao. And I mean, second, third round, she did exactly what was supposed to do, stayed away from the kicks mostly and just boxed her. I think Yan Xiaonan is one of the most disciplined athletes, not only in the strawweight division, but in the UFC. I mean, she just moves like someone that's very calculated. Now, Esparza, look, I think she's one dimensional, but that one dimension is pretty fucking amazing. I mean, I think that her boxing's gotten better, but in this fight, she won't have any striking. Trust me. I think that one dimension she's got is great, but I think that all those girls that she did that to have not been making the improvement in terms of at the times of when Esparza fought them did not show the signs of improvement that Yan Xiaonan showed in that Claudia Gadelha fight. I mean, if we look at the Marina Rodriguez fight, the previous fight before that against Cynthia Calvillo, she almost got stopped in the third round. Not to mention the Randa Marcos performance. Alexa Grasso had been tapped out on the ground. She had lost fights to Felice Herrig, due to wrestling as where and Michelle Watterson, that fight was close, man. I mean, not much happened. I mean, look, I respect Carla Esparza, but she's just one of these persons that is looking to, get these takedowns and eke out a win and, put her head in between them legs. And she's gonna dive on them singles and doubles all night long. But man, I just think that Yan Xiaonan's distance game is gonna really frustrate her. Like Grasso was flat-footed boxer. Michelle Watterson only got taken down once, and it was just briefly. And that was more of like karate style. That's where Xiaonan's got like a way better stance. And then you got Marina Rodriguez, another flat-footed Muay Thai person, man. So I think Yan Xiaonan's distance game is going to really frustrate her. I think she's going to stick to the boxing and the hands, and I think Carla Esparza is going to be taking some shots from really far out. And just look at the last fight against Gadelha, man. I mean, even in them second and third rounds, by the way, Gadelha was taking down Carla Esparza in the second and third rounds almost at will, man. Not trying to say that, Xiaonan's a better grappler than her and is going to take her down, but that just shows you the improvements that Yan Xiaonan has made. Even after that fight against Gadelha, she went back to Team Alpha Male to go learn some more wrestling defense, man. And I think Saturday night's her coming out party. I think this is a mismatch out in space. I think she can make Carla Esparza look really silly. I don't think like Michelle Watterson is not the person that's going to make you pay. Michelle Watterson's not known for inflicting damage. I mean, she's known for, looking cute and eking out split decisions. You know what I'm saying? I give her props in the Marina Rodriguez fight, but Marina Rodriguez also had some factors going against her going into that weekend. Not saying that Carla wouldn't have won if it was anywhere else, but I honestly thought Carla made a lot more mistakes in that fight. Like, she got those takedowns for sure, but she was dropping for leg locks, getting elbowed. Like, I mean, her face was ugly after that fight, man. It was covered in blood, 2 black eyes. So props to her, tough girl. But I just think Xiaonan, I think you just need to be more dynamic to beat her. I only think Carla Esparza has one dimension in her game, and I just think that she comes too prepared, her camp, and they come prepared for these game plans, and they just had a similar, maybe not similar style of grappling, but similar MO. I mean, Claudia Gadelha is one of the more experienced chicks in that division, serious black belt, and I mean, she passed that test with flying colors, and I think she passes the Carla Esparza test by, honestly, a pretty good decision victory here, man. I'm not saying it's going to be 30-26 or 30-27, but I think after this fight, you're going to know for sure who won, and I think it's going to be Xiaonan.
Listen, all due respect to Carla Esparza, I mean, she was the first ever strawweight champion. She was the first ever strawweight Ultimate Fighter winner. You look at her resume, I mean, she's beat a bunch of good strikers. I mean, she beat Marina Rodriguez, Alexa Grasso, Marina Moroz. She's been in there with Joanna. She finished Rose Namajunas. So, I mean, the resume of Carla Esparza is truly admirable, and I got nothing bad to say about her in that respect. And now there are some arguments. A lot of people might think her last 3 fights. I mean, I wasn't one of them, but a lot of people were saying Alexa Grasso got robbed. A lot of people were saying Michelle Watterson got robbed. A lot of people were saying Marina Rodriguez should have won that fight based off damage. So I'm not one of those people, but what I will say is there's not a single Yan Xiaonan fight that's debatable. There's not a single fight where you can say the other person should have won or this. Her fights are decisive, And I think this fight's going to be decisive too. Listen, I know on paper it seems like striker versus grappler, and it might be in black and white terms, but I think it's a little more complicated than that. I mean, getting in on someone like Yan Xiaonan, and she's so disciplined, she uses her jab in a way to deter you from shooting in for those takedowns, and then you start to show her any kind of weakness, and then she'll start throwing that side kick to the face, which we've been waiting. One of these days she's going to knock someone out with that. Mark my words on that. We've been waiting for that. It's going to happen eventually. Maybe not here. And I think that Carla's going to give her a good, tough fight. I think we're going to get to see how our takedown defense is. I think we're going to get to see how our get-up game is. But I think that once Yan Xiaonan proves that, hey, I can get back up. Because, look, this is what I love about Yan Xiaonan. You know, with someone like Marina Rodriguez, I mean, I've always talked about how great her striking is. And I've always said, man, if she could just improve her takedown defense and her get-up game this much, she could fight for a title. But you know, she refuses to leave Brazil. She refuses to leave her comfort zone. Whereas you got someone like Yan Xiaonan, she's out here in California at Team Alpha Male. Literally, she's got 2 high-level credentialed wrestlers working with her privately every single day. I mean, that to me is a sign of a future world champion. That to me is the sign of someone who takes their career seriously, who tries to improve on their weaknesses, and who wants to show that, hey, I'm not just in this to tell people that I won a couple of UFC fights. I'm in this to be a world champion. And I think that's where Yan Xiaonan is. And I think I've known that since day one. And I think Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada, live at the UFC Apex, I think she's going to beat the former champion Carla Esparza via unanimous decision, possibly late TKO, most likely unanimous decision. And I think we're going to know that Yan Xiaonan is the dark horse of the division. Yan Xiaonan is the future champion. You know, it was always a collision course between Yan Xiaonan and Weili Zhang, and the whole time I've been more impressed with Yan Xiaonan the entire time. I'm not just saying that because Weili lost her last fight. I've been saying this before even the Joanna fight, man. I've always thought that Yan Xiaonan was the more talented of the two, but Weili touched gold first. Now it's Yan Xiaonan's turn. So all due respect to Carla Esparza, she'll be back, but I got to go with Yan Xiaonan here via unanimous decision.
Oh, Rose Namajunas ain't done fighting Chinese people yet.
Yeah, she's I cannot wait is all I gotta say.
They're about to give her another one.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be good too. I mean, or if they want Marina to get in there, I'd be down with that as well. It just depends.
Not yet. Not before Xiaonan.
Main event of the evening in the bantamweight division, also possibly some kind of title eliminator here. We got Robbie Font. He's 18-4. He's taking on the former champion Cody Garbrandt, or as we like to say in Brazil, Shaq, Cody Garbrandt. He's 12-3, and currently they got it. Robbie Font -120. The comeback on Cody Garbrandt is +100. So I understand, you know, people are still questioning a lot of things about Cody Garbrandt, maybe the durability, maybe, you know, sometimes he can lose his mind in there a little bit. But if we're gonna talk about all that stuff, like, we need to mention certain concerns we have on the Rob Font side, Shaq, because I recall the time when Rob Font was in there with Pedro Munoz, and Pedro hit him so goddamn hard that Rob Font literally shot a takedown on the best guillotine artist in the bantamweight division. I remember when he was in there with point fighter Rafael Assunção, and Assunção floored him. So let's not act like this is one-sided in terms of the durability. I mean, Cody did get knocked out by, you know, a former champion in TJ, who was the champ at the time and who was on steroids, and Pedro Munoz. And I don't want to disrespect Munoz, but, you know, he popped also. So, you know, it is what it is, man. But I actually think the reality of what happened in that Pedro Munoz fight was that he.
You know, all these guys are on steroids.
I think that Pedro was chopping him down with calf kicks, and eventually, you know, Cody was like, fuck, I'm either not going to be able to walk. I got to say, fuck it. He said, fuck it. Went on a suicide mission, got caught, was what it was. This is a little bit of a different fight. So Rob Font, I definitely got to admit, he's turned the corner, because what we wanted him to be for the longest time, now he's finally turning into that guy. He's always had the skills. I mean, his boxing has been some of the best in the bantamweight division for the longest time. But now I think the mental is starting to catch up. And now, you know, he gets taken down in fights, he can get back up. You know, he's not breaking in these fights. But I think that this is going to be a significantly tougher fight than these last three. You know, he's only fought one time in 2018, 2019, and 2020. This is going to be his first start in 2021. Hopefully, this is a chance for him to be a little bit more active. You know what I mean? And either guy could get caught here. I definitely think that. I mean, listen, Rob Font's got some very precise strikes. He lands on that chin of Garbrandt. I think he can put him out, but I don't think it's the way people are making it seem is that all Rob Font's got to do is just land one punch and the fight's I think that Cody can catch Rob Font, man. I think that I've seen Rob Font get hurt badly in fights too, man. Do not forget about the Munoz and the Assunção fights. So I see it. What's up?
John Lineker.
Yeah. Oh, remember when he pulled guard against John Lineker? So I don't really think that this is the one-way traffic that everybody assumes it to be. Now, don't get me wrong. Either guy could get caught because these guys are going to be throwing heavy heat. Both guys have been hurt in fights. So, yeah, if Rob Font knocks out Cody, then, I mean, I can't sit here and act surprised. But everybody's acting like that's a foregone conclusion. And I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure because there's a difference between the top 15 and the top 10 and then the top 5. It's a completely different world in the top 5, man. I'm actually going to go with Cody Garbrandt here, man. I felt like that last fight got his confidence back. People talk about his fast hands, but what about his footwork? What about his kicks are on point too? What about his D1 wrestling, man? I think that he's got more ways to win this fight, but I think he can also beat Rob Font at his own game in the boxing. And unless Rob Font is truly turned the corner to where he's ready to, be a top 3 guy right now, I think he actually is officially ranked in the top 3, but you know what I mean? Beat top 3 guys. If he's ready for that, then all due respect to him because he's paid his dues, man. And these last few performances, he's been looking better than ever. But I think that Cody Garbrandt's faster than him, and I think Cody Garbrandt's got more ways to win. I'm going to go Cody Garbrandt for the win.
Yeah, look, I think Cody Garbrandt's last fight was a great performance. And, man, I like Rob Font. I haven't necessarily always been as high on him as everyone else. Even back when he was fighting Munoz, I think the dude's a great boxer. Definitely don't want to, but look, Marlon Moraes, man, that victory that he just had, and you could say the same thing for Garbrandt as well, that Assunção and Marlon Moraes were both, on the outs, but more so Marlon Moraes, in my opinion, just due to the fact that, man, just look at his performances. That's where, Assunção, I like that performance from Garbrandt just because the approach, I hate discrediting wins from guys or trying to excuse a win. But, man, I've heard that, Cody Garbrandt had a lot of things behind the scenes going on, man. He's got a
lot of things.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention them, but, his life's a little different. I think he had a lot of distractions. I mean, this dude was a champion at 25 years old, man. And I mean, he had some baggage and, he doesn't have that baggage anymore. And, and I think this link up of Mark Henry, man, Cody, in terms of explosive athlete, power, speed, wrestling, just the whole package is great, man. And I like Rob Font, but I'm watching these fights with Ricky Simon, and I'm seeing him get clipped with left hooks against slow, stiff wrestlers, and I am wondering what would happen if that was Cody Garbrandt. Now, yeah, Pedro Munoz and but man, I almost have to not even consider that's him because just look at the way that he fought, man. It's the dude clearly was. I think that whole alpha male versus TJ beef, I truly think at that age that he was at the time, with the life that he, was having, was just too much for a person to have. They put all that pressure on him, with that beef with TJ. And I mean, just look at the rematch. I mean, me and you both know that's not the real him, there's something outside of the cage that's going on. The Munoz fight, I'm glad you brought that point because for a long time, everyone was making making fun of him for that performance and the way that he fought, man. But I mean, just looking at how Pedro Munoz kicks calves, man. I mean, now it's a little understand. I mean, Jimmy was kind of having to do something similar very quickly in that fight too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shout out to Frankie Edgar for withstanding that leg damage. But I still think that, man, that last fight might have been the win to finally get him back. Like I said, some things in his life are a little bit different now, but if he comes in with that point fighting approach and just keeps things simple to just touch and let the bomb come, man, I honestly just think he's flat out a better fighter, better athlete. more capable than Rob Font. I like Rob Font, but I noticed that as the fight progresses, he comes out very hard in the first round, but as the fight progresses, he slows down. He's a big bantamweight. He cuts a lot of weight. It's understandable for a guy like him to need rest, but he does keep things very sharp with the jab. It's just now this time, man, what's coming back is going to be something very, very vicious. And man, Garbrandt, I'm not going to lie, man, his interviews, dude sounds very refreshing, and I'm not a fucking therapist or a life coach or whatever, but I mean, just knowing from what I've seen from him in the past and how off the wall and fucking crazy this dude can get, man, I honestly think that he might be looking to creep back up into that title contention. I'm not saying he's getting his belt back, but man, I think he knocks Rob Font out in the first round or somewhere in the first couple of rounds. I think Rob Font's just going to be a little too slow. Like, what is their game plan, to wrestle him or strike? Because if the game plan is to box him, I think that's a very, very tricky position. Like, I think a lot of Cody's, I'm not saying that dude's not chinny, he's definitely chinny. Like, I remember when that dude on the amateur scene knocked him out too. I forget his name, but you remember that.
Was it Jarrell Hodges by chance?
Yeah, something like that. You know that dude I'm talking about that knocked him out unconscious. Dude's definitely chinny, but I think that the two TJ ones in particular were more derived off emotions. Like, I don't think that if Cody was in his right mind, more calm mind that he is in now, I do think he's the better fighter than TJ Dillashaw. I just think the kid was too young in a spot, and you guys will find out all those details at some point, But dude had a lot of, 25 years old, beat Dominic Cruz, like,
by decision.
By decision, like, and the girls love Garbrandt, with the tattoos. The dude was like life was moving fast, man. I just think it happens, man. Dudes get focused, but man, you can always come back, and I think he is on Saturday. So I'm going with Cody Garbrandt by knockout. All due respect to Rob Font, but look, I like Marlon Moraes. He had a great run, but man, Marlon Moraes' days might be numbered here, unless he can get an easy opponent. It just depends. But the thing is, his name is Marlon Moraes. It's like you can't give him too easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I got Cody Garbrandt, man. I think he should be the favorite.
Now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So, Shaq, what is the fight to watch for UFC Vegas 27?
My fight to watch is in the flyweight division, man. That's Paiva versus David Dvorak. Who wants to, if Dvorak gets this win, a big fight's got to be on his hands. And I know if Paiva wins, I know Dana loves Paiva, man, from that Contender Series performance that he had. He really loves Paiva. So I know that they'll give Paiva a big fight if he wins this. In the flyweights, man, I know the last flyweight fight might have not been the best, but I think this one will be. Both guys got a lot to prove. Paiva's coming off the ACL, Dvorak's got the whole European scene behind him, so we'll see. That's my fight to watch.
Definitely. My fight to watch is Edmen Shahbazyan versus Jack Hermansson. Listen, Edmen's got a lot to prove. He's a young 23-year-old kid who's in the top 10 of the middleweight division, and he wants to get back on track. Jack wants to get back on track, too. Jack wants to show that, hey, like, you're not just going to, build your name off me to get into the top 5. Jack wants to show that he's still here to stay and that he's still one of the top contenders, and I think that's going to be a highly competitive fight. Both guys got a lot to win and a lot to lose. So, yeah, Edmen versus Jack is my fight to watch. Shaq, who is your fighter to watch for Saturday's UFC Fight Night?
My fighter to watch is going to be Yan Xiaonan, man. I've been on this girl like before she was in the UFC. What was that promotion? Road FC, when she was out here side kicking chicks in the face. And to see this come up has been nice. Look, as far as one of the toughest customers in that division, it's a tough test that she has on Saturday. But Yan Xiaonan's my fighter to watch, man. She's on the doorstep of a title shot. And I think that I heard they might be doing a rematch for Rose and Wiley, but I kind of disagree with that, man. I hope, with a good performance here, that Xiaonan can get in there. I want to see Wiley versus Joanna, the rematch. That's the fight I want to see. And I hope that with the win, but Yan Xiaonan said that if she wins, they told her she's getting a title shot. So we'll see.
Oh man, I can't wait to see that. My fighter watch is Claudio Silva. Man, I know he's 38. I know his fighting style might not be the prettiest, but I fuck with this guy. I mean, this is a guy that beat Leon Edwards back in the day. This is a guy who can come out here and he can hand Court McGee his first submission loss. And I think that if he does, that's going to be a big deal, man. And Court McGee's been in there with a ton of tough people. He's never been submitted before. This might be the guy to do it. And I just want to see how Claudio bounces back. Again, I know he's older, but he's like 5-1 or 6-1 in the UFC. He's got a great record in the UFC. He's been finishing a lot of tough guys. I want to see if he continues that trend here. So my fighter to watch is Claudio Silva. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Apex. We got Cody Garbrandt taking on Robbie Font. They can follow you at MMA Genius. They can follow me, MMA Genius 05, excuse me. They can follow me at Best Fight Picks, bestfightpicks.com. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. We'll be back next week for the next card. Thank you very much to our sponsor, Manscaped. Make sure y'all go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping. Shout out to my boy Bud Crush for hooking us up with that fire-ass gear. Thank you very much, Bud Crush. Thank you to all the fans, listeners, and supporters of Half the Battle. Hell yeah, that looks nice, man. Thank you so much to the fans. You guys are amazing. We'll be back next week. So anything you want to add to that, Shaq?
Nah, man. Shout out to my boy Bud Crush for this fire-ass sweater, man.
Looks fresh, looks fresh. Thank you, fans. Thank you, Manscaped. Thank you, Bud Crush. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.